Any damsel that's in distress, be out of that dress when she meet Jim West. Welcome to Wookie Wiki Watching Worst Films. My name is Jericho Reed, with me, Kyle Szymanski.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
I am grand because I have just watched 1999's Wild Wild West. So we are the podcast that covers every Golden Raspberry Award winner for worst film, the Razzies being the anti-Oscars, of course, that cover the worst that cinema has to offer. We're both quite excited because this is one that we've been looking forward to for some time, and as we are nearing the end of our journey, you know, like tired horses, we're stopping by to refresh them by the watering hole before we head on for the home stretch. We've headed off to the Wild Wild West.
Sure have.
So, Kyle, what was your experience with this film?
So this was a in-person viewing in cinema for me. I would have been 9 years old. I vividly remember going. I'm sure I said this with like Godzilla. This was like the era, like 97, 98, 99. I'm there a lot with my parents, my dad taking me just to bond and things. Wild Wild West was one of them, and I fucking loved it as a kid. I didn't have like a big merch, you know, like all the action figures and stuff, but I did love it so much. So I messaged you. I was dreading rewatching this because I realized how much I remembered like specific, or you know, obviously everyone knows the big scenes, but there were so many little bits. I was like, oh, I remember this from 21 years ago, and I was worried that it was going to break my nostalgia, and I was going to be, you know, I was just a little bit dread because I loved it so much. So I rewatched it today for this episode, and I had a fucking blast. Might be
Amazing.
it did not it didn't. I mean, we'll talk about it, but yeah, great first viewing 21 years ago, great viewing now in 2023. So, what was your experience with this film?
Very similar. I didn't see this in theaters, but I would have seen this on VHS a little while after it came out. Also loomed large in the consciousness of me as a child. Didn't have any of the merch apart from the Burger King toys. For some reason, I remember the Burger King toys super clearly. Like, they had like a little pop-out cardboard spider, I think.
Okay.
And like there were other Burger King toys that I definitely had more of. But for some reason, I just think of 90s Burger King and I envision Wild Wild West.
Okay.
And so I couldn't quite remember which one I had. I had to look them up, and I was like, because I was like, I'll know it when I see it. And I was like, no, it wasn't the mechanical spider, wasn't the little Will Smith glasses, wasn't the pen. No, I had the most boring one, which was a woman sitting on a carriage.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, similar to you, like a little bit older when I saw it, but like it left like an impression. I was like, oh yeah, like it was like a fun time as a kid. Movie magic, like fond memories of watching Wiki Wiki Wild Wild West, and I was a little trepidatious. It's like making one of those egg parachutes and just launching it off a building. I was a little reluctant to open things up and to see if the egg had remained intact or if I was going to get covered in yolk and mess. And I'm fine. It holds up. I had a fun time with this film.
Fantastic. No, I'm so glad to hear it as well. Sophie asked me about it earlier, and I said, you know, I was gutted. She could tell how excited I was after watching it.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, do you think Jericho will think this is Razzie worthy?" And I said, "Not a chance. This is just going to be a solid hour of us talking about our favorite bits and how much fun we had," which is exactly what happened.
My notes were another one where I was like, it's tricky. Like, I'm not good at talking about films that I like. And with this, it's going to be another one where I'm going to be like, just defensive over, don't you dare say that about this is my emotional support movie. Don't you dare criticize this.
And I think because it's a good fun film in terms of like, you don't need to go scene by scene. They don't really need to break it down in terms of plot. It's very simple, and a 9-year-old me can watch it and get it, understand everything, have fun. All the set pieces are spread out that, you know, what you remember. Just so much fucking fun. Like, I can't stop saying it. This is probably not my favorite Razzie film we've watched on this journey, but one of the most fun, especially like solo watching as well. Like, this was so much fun. So yeah, take
It
away.
just made me sad that we couldn't watch it together. That was
I
my
would have been.
only regret, because I was like, this film is treating me, yeah, treating me
Yeah,
well, but I was like, watching this with Kyle. Ugh.
100%.
Watching this with the Will Smith to my Kevin Kline. Um,
Is that an insult? Is that a compliment? I don't
I
know.
tried. If you want the Kevin Kline to my Will Smith, we can switch. I tried to give you what I perceive to be the best one.
Oh,
So, on a budget of $170 million to $241 million, and it also says in parenthesis, adjusted for inflation, 299 to 423 million. How much do you think this made?
so I'm assuming this adjusted for inflation is because it would be one of the biggest, most expensive, or a big bomb.
Precisely, one of the most expensive films ever made when adjusted for inflation.
There we go. So I'm gonna say the budget was 240 million, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna say exactly that, 240 again, whatever it brought.
you're you're really close.
Ooh.
221.1 million.
Yeah,
So
because of all
yeah,
it wouldn't
what's
it would
20 million between friends?
yeah, it wouldn't have been able to make a profit, even if it, like, I loved it, I went to see it, but yeah,
Yeah,
we were talking about the Burger King merchandise, and we're talking about how, like, it probably did well though, like, if they somehow got the rights to the theme song, because that's a number one
yeah,
hit as well. So like, if, I don't know, like, yeah, it's just one of those. It's impossible to make it back really once you're that deep in. You just kind of gotta
yeah.
hope for the best.
It's like the new Indiana Jones film with the
Hmm.
budget for that, and I'm like, how on earth this basically has to be like a mega smash hit
Yeah,
in order to break even.
yeah.
How on earth do you expect to make? I don't know.
And it's still respectable though. It isn't a flop. Like, it is technically, I guess, but like, this is, it's not 12 million, it's not 6 million it brought in. It's not empty theaters that we've seen on Razzies. This is still a blockbuster. If it had a smaller budget, this would have been a mega success.
It's one of those things where like you like if you're like when you throw a certain amount of money at a film, like there's kind of like a ceiling to how low you can make. Like once you throw so much
That's exactly what I'm
marketing, it
saying.
could be
Yeah.
yeah,
If
like
you gave
even
this to
it's
Robert Rodriguez, you would have made a 200 million pound profit, like,
yeah.
and you'd still be laughing. But yeah, you're damned. It's a double-edged sword here. But yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't call this a flop.
So should we get into this?
Yeah.
So my first note, giant spider. Because we start with a little pre-title scene where there's
Hmm.
a guy running and he's like, "Oh, giant spider, ah!"
Hmm.
And then he just like gets head chopped off.
Yes.
And I was
That
like,
makes
already, I'd forgotten the giant spider. They give you that like right
right
from the
way.
off. John Peters is like, make sure the audience knows they're getting a giant spider by
Yep.
the end of this film.
I 100% agree, and I like this because it's foreshadowing the two most famous moments from the film: the blade magnet and the giant spider.
Yeah,
It's pretty much what everyone's going to remember. And I was like, oh, it sets up beautifully. And my first note is actually after this is the titles themselves look great. There's so much. They're
yeah.
almost like Bondian, Mission Impossible. They're, I guess, an homage. I
It's like a
assume they're.
throwback, kind
Yeah,
of.
I
Yeah,
assume it's an homage to the show Wild Wild West, but like, it's so cool.
yeah.
It looks great. The actors are getting built, and they're like, profiles are coming in, and it looks cool. And I'm so used to terrible, lazy title cards for Razzie films that are almost non-existent. This is cool. I was invested here, and then I'm obviously seeing the names, and I'm like, oh, I forgot such and such was here, and I forgot such and such was here. So, and then John Peters comes, and I'm smiling. I'm ready. I'm all aboard.
So we should probably discuss this now just to bring everyone up to speed because you and I have spoken about it many times. If you've listened to probably any episode of this podcast, you'll hear us do the licorice pizza Streisand's bit.
Hmm.
John Peters, the producer of this film, he's been tangentially related to other films. He's a notorious Hollywood figure. He kind of got his way into the industry. He was a hairdresser originally, wasn't he?
Yeah,
And
something
that's
like
how
that.
he fell in with Barbara Streisand. Because Warren Beatty's character in Shampoo was based on John Peters, wasn't he?
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Yeah. So he's a Hollywood eccentric played by Bradley Cooper in Licorice Pizza. Kind of right place, right time kind of thing.
I mean,
Climbed his way to the top through his connection
yeah,
with one of Hollywood's biggest stars. At the same time, like he was dating Barbara Streisand,
mhm.
and like he produced her Star Is Born, and so from that kind of like
which is
on
which
the up and up.
which is also great. In full circle, he produces the modern Star Is Born with Bradley
Yeah,
Cooper. So that's a nice
yeah,
little bit.
exactly. There we
That's
go. It
symmetry. It
rhymes. Yeah.
rhymes. It's poetry. Yeah.
So, Jon Peters, as he was making his way up the Hollywood ladder, has all sorts of connections to things. Somehow he ends up involved with Superman,
Yes.
because another favorite of the podcast, someone who we speak about with regularity, Kevin Smith, speaks about being in talks to write the script for Superman Lives, which is going to be
Hmm.
directed by Jon Peters. And he said that he had
Tim Burton.
meetings. Oh, sorry, directed by yeah, wow, that would have been directed by Tim Burton. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. And Kevin Smith, who not speaking for you, but I hate him as a filmmaker. He is like good as a podcaster. He tells a good story, and one of those stories is about meeting with Jon Peters and Jon Peters' insistence on certain things about Superman Lives, like yeah, no cape, none of that stuff, like none
Hmm.
of the bright colors, and then he fights a giant spider, of course, and Kevin Smith's like, what? And he's like, everyone is familiar with Superman's most iconic villain, the giant robot spider. And so it sort of becomes this Hollywood legend that
Hmm.
other filmmakers have been like, yeah, Jon Peters tried to make me put a giant robot spider in my movie too. So Jon Peters producing Wild Wild West, Wild Wild West, of course, featuring a giant robot spider. Lots of people have linked Peters to the failures of this film, saying
Okay.
like the excess and the poor decision making was down to him, and the general like shambles of production, because Sonnenfeld, the director, has kind of disowned it and doesn't really sound like it was a smooth production necessarily. And certainly throwing that much money at a film
Hmm.
doesn't signal an astute mind, I wouldn't say.
I agree.
But nevertheless, we've spoken on this podcast how we love Hollywood hubris, big Michael Cimino fans. So you have Heaven's Gate on one leg, and then on one of your other 8 legs, you have a giant robot spider. So thank you,
So true. So
John,
true.
because these are the sort of madcap dreams which Hollywood is built on.
Hmm.
So the giant robot spider has been established immediately, and then we get Will Smith making out in a hot tub, and like some stuff is going on in the background. He's like a cop. He's like a cool guy, cowboy cop,
He's Will
and
Smith.
he's making out with a lady in a hot tub,
Yeah.
and some crimes going on. And she's like, "You promised you'd take a night off," and he's like, "Yeah, I know." And my note is the fake kissing, because this is
Hmm.
just a great beat where he's like kind of making out with the air, being
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah,
He's
while
looking through
looking
the
at
little
yeah,
peepholes. Yep. It's fantastic. And it's also, you're right, like the beats are strong because, like, spoilers, he crashes through the
yeah,
water tower slash hot tub, falls in, and he's naked. He's standing in front of all these racists. I thought we were getting a hard end, getting dropped by these guys as well, but he cuts them off before he does.
yeah,
Again, it's 99 different times, so I'm very
yeah."
happy that I didn't see that as
A
a kid.
hard end? You mean a hard R?
And hard R soda, yes. The word,
Both.
both bad, yes,
So,
both bad. But it's a great beat. He's naked. He grabs his hat. Yeah, he calls that down for, "Can you throw me down some clothes?" And she throws his hat. And I
yeah,
like that. That's it's very Indiana Jones, but
yeah,
I'm okay with that. Like, it's funnier, it's
yeah,
goofier. It's also just it's quicker and it's snappier than I was almost like dreading. Because when you're a kid, everything's funny. But I was like, oh no,
yeah,
like this is making me smile at the very least.
yeah, for sure.
And I do have a couple of laughs. So I don't know if I hit that three that I always talk about, but I definitely was.
I hit 3 in one scene, I think.
No, no, fair. No, there probably was. As we go through it, they will click again.
So my next note is a likable Will Smith. What a novelty. Because
Hmm.
it's been a while since I've rewatched like Men in Black, and like I don't know, like I really it's been a while since I've enjoyed Will Smith. Like he was good in King Richard, but in a way that I was like, this isn't really what I want from Will Smith. And like he was awful in Concussion and like After Earth, like Suicide Squad, like it's
Hmm.
Will Smith, the worst aspects of Will Smith being the sort of like egotism and his kids has kind of been brought to the fore. And it's easy to forget just like how insanely charismatic he was in the early days.
I agree with you to an extent. He is charismatic. He is fun. He is great in this. And I was a big Will Smith fan. But I was watching while I was watching it. You can tell the ego's here now. This is 99. This is
Yeah,
97. It's Men in Black 1, Men in Black 2. There's something different. You know, your
yeah,
ego's swole. Jazzy Jeff's been binned. I'm Miami and Wiki Wild West and getting jiggy with it. It's all, propelled me through the charts. I'm a big star actor now. There's something about it. I don't know. I could be wrong. Like it's just you see it with Myers. You see it in everything. You just see that little twinge of change. But he is charismatic. He is really good. He is not quite. I don't know. There's something about him that I've missed for so long that you kind of do
yeah,
forget how talented he is. His facial
yeah,
expressions alone are like so good, and like
yeah,
I don't know. It's almost like when you look at like Suicide Squad and all the other stuff he does now, he doesn't seem natural or relaxed enough. Whereas here, it's just effortless, and he is good. Like I gotta give him his credit.
yeah. I don't know if it's in the roles that he played because, like I don't know, like I guess some of his roles are like as a parent, and that's not necessarily how he comes across. Like, there's a reason that Tom Cruise doesn't really play parents outside War of the Worlds. Is like he's not like a fatherly
No, no.
figure. He's like you want him to be, or sort of like maverick. Like he's just like a movie star. Of you're like I
Hmm.
wouldn't trust this guy to babysit my kids,
Hmm.
but damn it if he isn't entertaining.
Hmm.
And so like Suicide Squad, when he's like, I'm just a single dad who's looking out for my kid, and he's just like that's not his energy,
No.
and so he's like dampening his natural charisma to play like the disciplinarian, like Jaden, don't you dare touch that. That's After Earth, and that could be poisonous.
Hmm.
And like, I don't think he's a great actor. Like, I don't think he has the range really to be able to do much outside the Will Smith wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair. That's fair. I'm not. I like him. I think he can be really good.
yeah,
He can border on great. I think he maybe has greatness in him. I don't know, but I do agree with those sentiments, to be honest.
yeah. So he then runs into Kevin Kline
Yeah.
because they are at like he follows his perp to a big kind of ball, and he bumps into someone in drag,
Hmm.
and that person is Kevin Kline,
Hmm.
which will be our odd couple for the next 2 hours.
Hmm.
My notes are very thin on the ground. Is there anything you want to say about their meeting?
And not really. But I do want to talk about their dynamic and their sort of
Yeah.
strange chemistry because it is an odd pairing. I think on paper, I am now a bigger fan of Kevin Kline than Will Smith. But like as a kid, I'd have been like, who the fuck's where's Arnie? Where's Stallone? It could have been what's going on here? But
Yeah.
they do have really good dynamic.
Yeah.
I think Kevin Kline is excellent in this film.
Yeah.
I think he's my favorite part. I think he has my favorite delivery. He is goofy, but there's a goofy straight man, which is
Yeah.
weird. He feels like what is it? He's like Chico Marx or something. I don't know. There's something about him.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just got a really good balance. I think Robert Downey Jr. has stolen all his charm from the post drug recovery, all
Yeah.
based off Kevin Kline's performance in Wild Wild West, which is
Wow.
honestly, I was watching it and I was like, fucking hell, Downey Jr. Like you owe this man a pint.
Yeah.
He's doing
Okay.
exactly doing what you're doing. I am such a big fan of him. I love their dynamic. I love them meeting, and he's obviously playing it like he's in drag a lot in this film. I
Yeah.
mean, they both take a turn, but I think Kevin gets more of it. But yeah, I thought it was so fun as well. So sorry, before I get blabber on, what are you gonna say?
Nothing, just two of my touchstones for their dynamic. A piece of IMDb trivia. So watching this, I was like, I understand that they couldn't, but I was like, I would have watched the hell out of a sequel to this film
Oh,
because their pairing is so solid. and you could like, I guess that's what happens with like adaptations of TV shows, serialized things, is it's open ended to be like, and now they'll go off and have other adventures, whatever.
Hmm.
But like even if you hate this film, I can't imagine anyone not thinking that like the two of them were very solid, because it kind of reminded me of one of my favorite movies, The Nice Guys, the Shane Black movie
Hmm.
with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. And I was like, oh man, like I would, just as I'd love to watch more of that double act doing things, I was like, I would watch so much out of like, even now, get them together now.
Yeah.
Will Smith needs some credibility post slap. Kevin Kline's not doing anything. Bring him back for Wiki Wiki Wild Wild West 2. But apparently,
Wilder Wild West is what I'm going to title my screenplay. I was to say
apparently,
though. Oh, sorry. You tell me the trivia
no,
first.
no, on you go.
I'm just going to say it's Will Smith's good at teaming up dynamics. Men in Black, Bad Boys. This, like, yeah,
Yeah,
he's good.
Bright.
Yeah.
Max Landis' Star Wars when he partners with an orc cop.
After Earth, yeah, with his son, like, yeah, it's all there. But no, just saying, like he does have good
Yeah,
dynamics. So like, if you ever want to buddy up in the '90s, maybe not post '90s, but in the '90s, yeah, 100%.
Chris Rock and Will Smith.
Yeah,
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 writes itself.
it does.
So apparently, Mel Gibson was set to star as James West, and Richard Donner was set to direct, with a screenplay by Shane Black when production was first announced in 1992. However, they both dropped out and went on to do Maverick, and Tom Cruise was later attached before going on to do Mission Impossible. So I'm like, yeah, this completely makes sense that it was at one point a Shane Black project, because it has that like dynamic, full like solving a mystery, like the comedic duo uncovering conspiracy, whatever, solving mystery. Like it's a very Shane Black type of film.
Okay, okay. That's and then like it's a good gamble from Tom Cruise because you're picking two sort of franchises from TV shows from the '60s, and it's like
Yeah,
you've no idea which one could succeed. Mission Impossible might have
no,
been the Razzie winner, and there could be
quite easily.
there
Yeah,
could be Wild Wild West, Dead Reckoning,
yeah.
in a parallel universe. So no, it's very interesting.
Yeah. So my next note was just about when the guy is pairing them together. He says like, shoot first, shoot next, shoot last. When they're all dead, maybe ask a question or two. And I was like, is that? I was like, I know that line. I was like, is that line not actually from Men in Black? So my other note was just to say that this is just the Men in Black dynamic
Yep.
of like Will Smith chasing the alien at the beginning of Men in Black
Hmm.
is just chasing, like to a certain extent, this feels a little bit like they've given Men in Black a Wild Wild West reskin.
It is. You've got. It is. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And so I really do not have many notes, so we're gonna race through this.
Yep.
So Kenneth Branagh is in this film as the villain,
Hmm.
and he's the guy with spider legs.
Hmm.
Like he's in a little wheelchair, I
Yeah, he's in
guess.
his electric
Um,
wheelchair at first that is
yeah,
revealed to have spider legs. He is the man
yeah,
building the giant spider that wants
yeah,
to secede from the United States, the divided states of America, I think is what to call it. And he has his own like secret society people. Yeah.
yeah. Because he's like Confederate guy. What's he
Hmm.
called? It's Kevin Kline's Artemis, isn't he?
Hmm.
He's Loveless. Kenneth Branagh is Loveless, who is the villain, and like Kenneth Branagh himself has said, like it's the worst American accent ever committed to film, and people have like ripped Branagh in particular apart for his performance here. I think he might be better here than he is in Tenant.
Oh no,
Like,
unquestionably. This is not like I Kenneth is one of those for me. I've spoken about it before. I either love him or I hate him.
yeah,
Either it's really, really good or I just want him to shut up.
yeah,
Depends on how involved he is usually. I really liked him here. There's a hint of Matt Berry,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and I really just that's what I was drawn to. He's having so much fucking fun. He is
yeah,
chewing through them. It looks good as well. I will say. He's a lot of green screen effects in here, so I'm sure they just green screen the bottom of his wheelchair.
yeah. He was on
Like
his knees the whole
yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
easily done, but like looked cool. Yeah, he gets a massive thumbs up for me. I thought he was fantastic. He was exactly what I remembered him as a kid. It was him, and then my proper note I want to talk about is General McGrath, played by a certain Buffalo Bill. He is the wild general working for Kenneth Branagh, and he's got his big heating thing. He's sort of the henchman at the first,
Yeah.
before our main two can find out what's going on and help Selma Hayek out and all this. But I forgot he was in it. I remembered the character vividly.
Yeah.
I remembered his death vividly, but I forgot who played him. And that's what I mean when it was a nice surprise. I was like, oh, it's Ted. Ted's popping up.
Well, he's kind of unrecognizable. Like the
Yeah,
thing for me is the voice. I'm like, oh, you can hear the voice when he
it's
speaks. But
exact same as, and again, this is where the parallels are great. It's what's his name in Men in Black?
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
exactly that. You don't think it until you hear his voice, and you go,
Yeah.
"Oh, it could be Vincent under there." So good. Yeah, I'm basically just gushing about everyone here because there's no one I'm singling out really. And so I also want to point out that Kevin Kline playing the president as well.
Yeah.
I hope he got a nice little pay rise, a little, a
Yeah.
little boost for that. He puts in a lot of, he's got a lot of time in wardrobe, and I hope he was compensated for it.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess since we're not going to be going scene by scene, if you have not in fact watched this, we'd recommend that you do. But like if you are struggling to follow, Will
Yeah.
Smith is playing Will Smith for Men in Black. He's like a cop, whereas Kevin Kline is the gadget scientist innovator. And so one of his things is he's very good with disguises. So he impersonates the president at one point and then has a conversation with the actual president, both of them played by Kevin Kline.
Hmm.
And so they go off to investigate this mystery. I can't remember the actual leads, but basically, some inventor is trying to make the South rise up again, and they're kind of trying to stop it. So that's really it. Like
It is,
a
no,
couple cowboy cops going out to
they bump into Salma Hayek, who is
yeah,
been abandoned. I can't remember. She was an
yeah,
entertainer but she gets involved. They all team up and they all
yeah.
have to infiltrate. They get to the fucking, I will say, the giant spider in general. They get there fucking quick. I forgot that there is quite a big chunk of the last 40 minutes of the film is spider time. So
Yeah.
Peters did win that. So
I mean,
there's,
imagine this movie was like a budget of like $60, and Peters
oh.
is like, "Nah, we're gonna need more spider. We're gonna need more spider. Another 60 million? Yeah,
um,
make it two."
So the big scene before we get there, before they arrive, they are caught, and there's a cool little train versus train. Kenneth
Yeah,
is on his like drill penis train thing. There's some infantile humor that's really fun about him not having genitalia. And
infantile. It's terrifying. I was like, I think he's so unnerving, kind of like the guy from Hotel Transylvania 2. I think Kenneth Branagh is just like so unnerving in this because he's lost the lower half of his body, and he gives this monologue about he's like, I gave my legs for the
mhm.
South, I gave part of my lower colon to the South, I did this, I gave my penis to the South. And like he takes Salma Hayek away or whatever, and Will Smith's like, well, at least I know you don't have a dick, so there's no damage you can do there. And Kenneth Branagh's like, are you seriously believing that I am incapable of inventing a contraption that can thrust repeatedly? And then they cut to like some engine going, where I'm like, he's like a robotic rapist. Like this is terrifying. So
It's
I
a
don't know. Kenneth Branagh is like really unsettling in this. Like
yes,
he
but
creeped me out as a kid.
okay. I will give. I don't think he could. I think Ted Levine scared me more. I think it was to do
Okay,
with the
yeah,
wax and the general. He looks like a classic real villain from like a
yeah,
serious western almost, whereas Kenneth and his robot leg, sorry, are just I don't know.
yeah,
Anyway, the point is he catches them and he's got the collars, the bomb collars around their necks, our main two. They're in this little perimeter. They're
yeah,
told not to leave there, and Kenneth goes off with Selma. Ha ha ha. See you later, guys.
yeah.
And I thought there was more dialogue. I misremembered, like, oh,
No,
what's this?
yeah,
No, no.
same,
Will
yeah.
Smith's just like, fuck, let's go, jump right over it. And I love that because yeah, a hackier writer would have made some back and forward. What do you mean? And like pointing and
Yeah,
miming, we've got to go, we've got to go.
yeah,
But no, they just go
yeah,
straight into it. I
yeah,
love how the giant blades have spiders on them as well.
yeah.
Another goal for John. It's cleaning house in this match. Um, it looked good. It was stupid. It's magnets with blades, and when you think about it, it's stupid, but it looked fun and cool, and it
But
stuck in
I
my
don't know,
brain so
flying
much.
backwards around the earth to reverse time is stupid. Like some of the biggest movies of all time are
Yeah.
fundamentally stupid.
Yep.
Like I don't think stupidity needs to be a barrier. And there's like a snobbishness around this where like everyone's like, oh, well, of course, Wild Wild West, how ill-considered, like what, how idiotic. Like obviously that was going to be a
No, no,
failure.
no, no. Well,
And I'm like,
it is stupid and all that. I get your point here, but then their plan is to jump midair and hug and
yeah.
fall down a canyon, and it's a great wily coyote, and they land in
Yeah,
a canyon of shit. But the funniest laugh for me wasn't that. It was when the two blades collide and
yeah,
they fucking explode. Like
yeah,
there is a proper explosion from two little bits of metal hitting,
yeah,
and it just made me laugh. It made me just, I
yeah,
don't know, I couldn't control it. I just thought, okay, this isn't stupid. This is genius. You've
yeah,
swung me around again. This is so much fun. Men in Black would overthink this. You have not. You've
yeah.
just
No.
John Peters has given you the check and told you what to do. Go nuts. So yeah, great scene, great fun, great even little gag when they're standing in the river of shit and Will Smith sneezes and Kevin's got great straight man's reaction. Again, it's
Yeah.
all very almost vaudeville level black and white comedy humor, but it's so well done and
Yeah.
yeah, so good. It's much more timeless than I was
Yeah,
expecting from
that's
'99.
yeah, so my note there was just like the whole steampunky aesthetic to this film. It might be a case of like, "Hey, John, it's your cousin Marvin
Mm-hmm.
Peters." I'm like, is this movie like a little too ahead of its time?
It
Because
is.
I'm like, people would go wild for
They would
this.
go wild, wild over
Like a
this.
bunch of nerds made their entire like reason for being this kind of like steampunk
Yep.
aesthetic. It's like this would like people would be, I don't know, doing the Wild Wild West role playing game. Like I don't know. I just it's interesting how this was considered like so like it's a futuristic what western? It's a
Mhm.
western with steam, and I was like, I don't know. Like
I
yeah, that would become a much more mainstream genre by
it's groundbreaking. It is.
yeah, yeah,
I know it's obviously a fucking thing beforehand, but this must have popularized it because these fanatics or this people that love like cyberpunk and all that would have been my age.
yeah.
There
These
would
losers.
there are all the losers are my age because we are the loser generation. We would have seen this at 9 and then thought this is
Yeah,
like the coolest thing that
yeah,
the aesthetic of the trains and the spider. Like John Peters is a
yeah,
visionary. Like a hundred
yeah.
percent, 100% agree with you.
People going around with big steel collars.
Hmm.
Just yeah. Yeah, so my next note is when they go back to the train cabin to work on things, they've found the decapitee's head, and Kevin Kline is like, "Oh, I've developed technology which can show you the last, like we can project through this man's retinas the last sight he saw before he died." And I laughed so much at Will Smith being like, "That is a man's head." Because it's the type of thing that like this has just been overcome by Whedon talk now of they
Hmm.
be like, seriously, you're just gonna like
Yeah,
project through a man's head,
yeah,
okay, or like, okay, well that happened,
yeah.
or like, okay, creepy McCreeperson over here, whereas Will Smith just goes, that is a man's head, repeatedly. And it's so funny because the number of different readings he has, I'm just like, that is a man's
I agree.
head.
It is,
That is a man's head. It's so good.
but that's a good point. It's something like that. If you think that this was made even 10 years later, 20 years later, it would be so snarky and snidey and
God. It,
sarcastic, and it wouldn't be just played straight, but also ludicrous at the same time. Like they can't do that
yeah.
anymore. We
It's
have
the
we have been bogged down by Whedon and Marvel.
it's replacing like the Lethal Weapon Shane Black thing with just Whedon soy banter,
Yeah,
where like all of the like it would be like, okay, they fly now when like saw blades are getting shot out of
Mm-hmm.
out of the cannon. So yeah, just very grateful. And including with the next line, Kevin Kline is showing off all of his gadgets, including the maybe I've got this out of sequence because I think one of these is the ball that knocks them out, which leads to them getting buried. But anyway, he's showing off all his gadgets, including his drag getup, and he's like, "Go ahead, Will, touch my breast. See, how does it feel?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Will's like, and he's like, "Well, I filled it with buckwheat," and Will's like, "Buckwheat? No, 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 no." And he goes and empties it out and fills it out up with water, and he's like, "Now touch my breast." And Kevin Kline's like, "Ooh, yeah, that's." And Emmett Walsh, who is another like actor who I'm assuming we mutually adore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's like the train driver who just comes in, and again, it's like a hack bit being done a million times, but he's just watching them from behind with like, "Ooh, trust my breast. Ooh, I'm hard. Oh yeah," and like I don't know, it's
And you,
just
and yet, I'm glad we didn't even speak about Emmett because he doesn't have that
no,
big a part to play, to be
no,
honest. You've got the main four actors in this, and everyone else has bit parts, and it's
yeah.
very much important. But god damn it, if he doesn't, half steal the show. He's very good at that. Like I say, we are both big fans. I mean, is he still alive?
He's still
Is he
alive, yeah.
still
Still
alive?
crops
Yeah,
up and things now and then,
still
yeah.
popping up.
It's
Uh,
funny because he's one of those people that's just ageless, given that like I see him in like Blood Simple and like I don't know character pieces in the 70s probably, and
well,
he's just kind of the same as he is now.
well, that's it. Like I'm thinking, obviously, Blood Simple, one of my favorites. Blade Runner.
Yeah,
All these early '80s, mid '80s to what now, '99, no difference.
yeah,
And then when he crops up, like you say, pops up in other things more modern, he's still good
yeah.
fun. Always happy to see him get work. Really hope he doesn't get nominated.
Oh
I,
God,
I'm
I
worried.
would.
I'm worried about
We've
this.
joked about it, but I would seriously be on my way to California to put a contraption
Yeah.
in Mr. Horizon's neck if he if he had done that to M. Emmett. It just adds a touch of class to proceedings because Barry Sonnenfeld, of course, this speaking about this being Men in Black ish. Barry Sonnenfeld directed Men in Black,
Hmm.
so that would be why. And the Coen-esque flavourings of M. Emmett Walsh. Barry Sonnenfeld, before he became a director, he was the cinematographer, and he was the cinematographer for the early Coen Brothers films. Like, I'm fairly sure he must have shot Blood Simple, actually.
Yeah, it would make sense. It would be the connections all there. I didn't know that. That's quite interesting. I didn't know he was working with the Coens before. I know him only as the director of The Addams Family, one and I think two, but definitely the first one. And they're really well made films. They're really well directed. I always talk about my love for them. So I didn't know he was Men in Black, but that makes sense. His connections are all there. He's solid though. Like I haven't really spoke about much of him. We're giving too much to Peters, but
Yeah.
this boy knows how to make a film. He
Yeah.
knows how to appease the egos of his actors. He knows how to appease the egos of his producers. And despite all the shit show that probably was going on behind the scenes, uh, I hope he doesn't like come up either because I don't think I would be getting a better performance out of like Salma Hayek or Will Smith in drag. I think this would be the best I'm ever going to get out of them. So fair play, fair play.
Yeah. So I really don't have much to say about the film because my next note is lynching charming as fuck. Because Will Smith they've infiltrated some like big diner.
Hmm.
That's the plan, isn't it? I think is Will Kevin Kline's like we're gonna go in drag and Will Smith's like hang on wait what no we're not going in drag and he's like yeah no we have to like that's the disguise and he's like no I'm not wearing a dress and he's like do you think like a black man is going to be received well at a a meeting of like ex plantation owners and they kind of go with their separate plans. And so Will Smith swans in as Will Smith, and he compliments the breasts of a woman who's not Kevin Kline because he's abandoned his plan of going in drag,
Hmm.
and so Will thinks it's him,
Hmm.
and is like, "Oh hey, nice work," and then, unbeknownst to him, Kevin Kline is in fact disguised as like kind of what is it like the like prospector, like a kind
Yeah.
of hairy old prospector, And so, because of affronting a woman, Will Smith is hounded out of the place and they lynch him.
Mm.
Is this the bit I liked? There was a bit that I really liked when like they do the racist thing of like, where are you from? No, where are you from originally? Because Will Smith says something like, "Oh, where I'm from," and then they're like Georgia, and he's like, "No, Africa," and he just I can't remember any of it, but when he's talking his way out of being lynched,
Yeah.
it's like a funny reminder of how charming Will Smith is.
Yep. Hundred
I'm
percent.
like, oh yeah, if I was a he's speaking about the etymology of redneck, isn't he?
Mhm.
He's like, listen, I know you might have been upset that I called you rednecks. Now, what is a redneck? It's just like, yeah,
It is. It's absolutely is. Yeah, it's great. I don't have anything else to add on that. This diner scene is one of the bigger set pieces before we
yeah,
get to the fucking spider. It's probably one of the
uh
last
huh,
ones. It's where we meet up with Hayek and she
yeah,
tells him I honestly can't even remember why she joins. Something to do with something. But yeah, like then we just move on. We get to the spider.
yeah.
I don't have anything else to say. I
I have one more.
You tell me your note. I only have one more. It's
Well,
right at the end.
Well, my final note is just the closest I can amount to a criticism of this film is that there's zero chemistry between Salma Hayek and Kevin Kline.
It's my biggest thing. Is so I was just about to go into this, and so how I fixed the film.
Yeah,
I basically just take Hayek out of it and save 15 minutes, and I don't need a romance. There's cool.
yeah,
I like Kenneth's femme fatales. He's
yeah,
he's got these henchwomen. They're fun. I don't really need
yeah,
they could get more screen time, and I'd probably have more fun with that if they had like we could have
yeah.
had Kevin Kline and drag as one of them to infiltrate, and we
Oh
could
man,
we
that'd been
we
so good.
yeah. See, we can just because you can't really make this film better. It's
No,
pretty good, but that's probably the only improvement is if you get just Ben Hayek and if give them a bit more of a homoerotic cocktail run,
yeah.
then I'll probably
Clutching,
yeah.
clutching at straws. I was like, it's not something like the movie isn't dependent on their chemistry because he has so much with Will Smith that like the two like because it's not really clear like Kevin kind of has a thing with her
Mhm.
and Will is just kind of like I want to have a thing with everyone.
Yes.
But like the love triangles, it's not really clear what they're trying to do with the love triangle, and she doesn't really have chemistry with any of them. And then at the end, she reveals that she's actually married. It's just kind of like, well, see you later.
Yeah.
And so almost works that she has no chemistry because Kevin Kline is just kind of like he's like a like it almost works that like he's obsessing over this woman who like gives him nothing, like he doesn't have
Mhm.
anything with her. So I'm like, oh, I guess you can make the defense that like this is a relationship which takes place entirely within his head, where he's like, oh, she's so marvelous and this, and it's all just kind of on the basis of like, oh yeah, we made eye contact that one
Mhm.
time and our hands accidentally touched when we were. But like, if you're like, I think that's more of a niche kind of thing than like broad '90s movies. The romantic interest is supposed to be like sparks flying.
Mhm. No,
So
I
I
agree.
don't
I agree
think
with
that
that.
was what they were
Yep.
trying to do.
Yep. I do agree with that.
Yeah, so nothing really to say. Rushing towards the climax with the robot spider. Yeah. Oh, James Gumb gets killed. The Buffalo Bill.
Mhm.
Kenneth Branagh demonstrates a tank that he has built for the Confederacy, and it kills a bunch of people in a show of power. And then the giant spider runs amok. They go and fight them. They fight a bunch of funny people. What the guy who's like, I learned this in China. They fight like a bunch of like, there's the guy with the like plate in his head or whatever. They fight a bunch of like wacky hench people, and then Will Smith fights Kenneth Branagh, who has big spider legs.
Mhm.
It gave me a little bit Elon Musk fighting Mark Zuckerberg vibes of like Elon Musk's gonna turn up in a wheelchair that has like an
Yeah.
exoskeleton attached. On the whole, actually, Kenneth Branagh kind of has like steampunk Wild West Elon Musk vibes.
It could easily I was expecting aliens, the loading they are
Yeah,
better.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's why I see that for Musk and for Kenneth in this film. That's exactly what I see.
Yeah. So, do you have anything to say about the ending?
I just apart from that, I really like it.
Yeah.
I like how Will Smith kills Kenneth Branagh, and
Yeah.
he basically wants to give him a whooping. I think it is.
Yeah.
There's a fun twist on the Indiana Jones joke of sword guy swinging
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
swords, and I thought, oh, don't steal it, please, don't fucking steal it.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
don't, and he's like, oh, I just got this little one from Kevin, and then the boy, it's a little shoe knife, and
Yeah.
Blades McGee cuts off the shoe knife, and they have to have a scrap, and shovels are involved. It's all good fun. It ends with Kenneth
We should
Branagh.
have said Will Smith does drag at one
He
point.
does,
After all, he
yeah,
does do
he does do
drag,
drag,
and like
and he
it's
gets.
just
It's
satisfying.
just
Everything is
I don't.
set up is paid
It is
off.
all. It's so simple. There's
Yeah.
this great ending, great little back and forth between Kenneth and Will when they're dangling, and
Yeah.
Kenneth calls him boy, and you can't do it, boy. You can't kill me because you'll kill yourself. And
Yeah.
Will Smith's just like, no, fuck you. Done.
Yeah.
Drops him, leaps onto a hanging body.
Yeah.
Happy ever after. President
Yeah.
President sets up the sequel. They're
Yeah.
going, steals their train. They ride off into
Yeah.
the sunset on the giant spider. Like, what more? What
Amazing.
more do you want? Everything's wrapped up. You know, they're going off to do Wilder Wild West, directed by Watching Worst Film Podcast. Yeah, no, like I don't have anything else to say. It's one of those what you say. I enjoyed it so much. I would recommend it. Maybe not like sit down Friday night with your partner, but if a Sunday, if you've got an afternoon free, stick it on. It's good fun.
Yeah, like it's not a
No,
fantastic film. Like I'm not saying like go in with high
yeah,
expectations, but as far as Razzie winners go, like this is
one of the
one
most
of
fun.
the
And
top
it
for
isn't
sure.
long either. I know I was rag on about length. It's an hour
No,
40 or
it's
something.
a breeze. Yeah.
Easy days. Nothing but good things to say about it. Nothing. Can't nitpick at it like I usually do. It's not.
No.
It's so nice to watch a good block. It's what I wanted from Godzilla. I was saying a few episodes ago. I just want to watch a great 90s blockbuster. Give me,
Yep.
give me Twister. Give me something. I just want to watch something. Yeah. Thoroughly
Was that too much to ask for? Um,
recommend.
we're asking that Mr. Razzie be worse at his job
Yeah.
and just find movies that fundamentally shouldn't win so we have a slightly easier time of things. Yeah, so there you go. Neither of us think anything about this film is really Razzie worthy beyond like worst couple Kevin Kline and Salma Hayek, but like not really Razzie worthy. We've also given you our fixes for the film, which are there. Who would you cast as your villain now? Because would you bring Kenneth Branagh
No,
back as some like he's now more Spider or
Matt Berry is his son.
oh yeah
Father.
yeah you're doing the IT crowd again
I can't unsee Matt Berry.
yeah
Matt Berry's easily mine. I get Will Smith back. I can get Kevin back.
yeah
It would be cool to see Will Smith's progression as sort of a Django Unchained, sort of going off
I
being
was thinking of
disgraced.
Django the whole
I whole
time
time I was watching this.
because obviously notoriously Will Smith turned down
Yeah,
Django
and but that's it.
because
He would have been good at it, and I think
well
Jamie.
he didn't need to because he'd already aced
He's
it.
ready to. That's what I'm saying. I think Robert Downey Jr. and Jamie Foxx watched this film and based the entirety of their careers post millennium off them. Fantastic. I'd take them both back. Yeah, Matt Berry or maybe Kenneth in some sort. Maybe Kenneth is like a head in a jar.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah
and I can reprise the joke of Will Smith from the first film. It's a head.
yeah
Yeah, easy. I think it would be really good fun. What about yourself? I would also to fuck with the original show. I've never watched it as well, so I don't give a shit. I am relaunching the movie based off the TV show. Fuck the TV show.
I don't know. I'm like, I struggle with Kenneth Branagh because he's perfect for this in that he's just the right amount of cheese. And I'm similar to you in that he's someone who, my opinion on him goes back and forth, where he's like, I love his Hamlet. I've like loved some of his Shakespeare direction, but I'm like not as keen on stuff like Belfast and Artemis Fowl. And I think he's just like he's great in Oppenheimer, but I'm not a fan of him in Tenet.
He's
And I
really
think
not good in Tenet. You're like,
yeah,
again, it's
he's like miscast as much as
yeah,
anything.
yeah. But again, good to see you again.
It's kind of I think it might be like the conflict I think it might be similar to how I feel about myself as an actor, where I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sometimes unsure of him skirting the line with cheese, where I'm like, is this what this role needs? But I do think it works here, and I think he needs someone else with that level of, like, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
hamminess. So, controversially, I'm going to say Nicolas Cage is my villain
I'm out.
for
I'm out. I'm out.
Wild Air, Wild
That's
West.
it. Creative differences, double the budget. I'm out.
I just think he's going to deliver the swing you need of, like, I can see him with, like, a big outrageous facial hair, and just, like, I can see him putting on some ridiculous southern accent as playing, like, a
Oh,
big cartoonish villain.
I would.
Listeners,
I,
if you have any...
I was gonna say just after saying that, I wouldn't mind seeing Tommy Lee Jones doing a Two Face energy
Okay,
level.
okay. I think the thing with Two-Face, though, is he needs a Jim Carrey. Like, he needs to
Well,
have him...
guess what, buddy? Guess I've brought him in as well. The 90s are back,
Amazing.
baby.
They never left. Um, so, listeners, hit us up with who you would like to see as the villain in Kyle and I's sequel to Wild Wild West. Because that kind of brings things to a
It
close.
does.
So, we're just going to get very mad about all the people that Mr. Razzie has suggested are worthy of recognition. So, alongside the nomination for picture, or the win for picture rather, worst actor Kevin Kline in Wild Wild West as Artemis Gordon.
Just Kevin, not Will. Just Kevin.
Just Kevin, yeah,
Still get fucked. Absolutely not.
yeah,
Kevin's fantastic. He has so much fun. He could have phoned this in much like easier. He didn't need to
yeah,
try. He's great. I've gushed about him. He's my favorite, easily my favorite part of this film. So
yeah. He's brilliant. Like, I don't know what planet you have to be on to think that this is a bad performance. Kevin Kline, I think, is also, like, quite critical of this film and maybe himself, but, like, line up, Kevin. You're great.
yeah, yeah,
The film's great.
yeah.
It's like, it also reminds me a lot of that other steampunk classic, Treasure Planet. You ever see that?
Yes, I have. Yes, yes. Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
It.
the guy from
Yeah,
Frasier.
yeah.
Is it Frasier?
No,
Yeah.
David Hyde Pierce.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think so,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. He reminds me a little bit of him.
Yeah, I get that.
So then we're off to worst supporting actor Kenneth Branagh in Wild Wild West as Dr. Arliss Lovelace.
No,
No,
no.
yeah, no, nothing really to say. So worst supporting actress Salma Hayek, a shared nomination for another film, and Wild Wild West as Rita Escobar. Didn't know that was her name.
Yeah, I did. I'd Rita clicks a bell, but Escobar didn't know she got
Yeah.
double named. Yeah, this is the only one I'm gonna have sort of understanding for. I don't mind Hayek. She's obviously in some of my favorite films from Dusk Till Dawn and things are great, but
Grown Ups too.
she ain't good in this.
Yeah.
She doesn't get much to work with, but someone else could have done better. So yeah, I will say this is the first one. I understand that. That's not a win though. That's a nomination, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Mhm.
that's fair. I agree with that.
And then another nomination, Kevin Kline as a prostitute in Wild Wild West.
No.
Fuck off. This amounts for like a minute and a half.
Yep. Nope.
Like, it's just, again, Mr. Razzie cannot name women, and he likes, like, he likes nominating men in drag.
Yep.
Because, yeah, no, it's... I'm surprised he didn't... If he hated him that much, why did he not nominate him as the president as
Yep,
well?
exactly. Supporting actor, and worst actress.
And we have a win for worst screen couple, Kevin Kline and Will Smith in Wiki Wiki Wild Wild West.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Just spoke about that for 20 minutes. Absolutely not. No.
Like worst screen couples are normally like that alchemy of just like people who are horrendous on, like, it's normally like a struggle to imagine people being that bad, whereas Wild Wild West is the opposite of, I'm like, I would be like, rub my hands together with glee if I was director and I saw two people screen test with as much chemistry as they have. Like, they're great.
100%.
Worst director, win for Barry Sonnenfeld for Wild Wild West.
Nope, I said that. I'm gutted he's there. There's the fuck. No. No, big no. It's so well competent. You know, I'm not going to say it's a great masterpiece, but it's someone who has obviously done good stuff before, knows what they're doing, and pulls it together. And yeah, absolutely no. Strong no.
I just want to say there's this thing about, like, directors, kind of like with dogs and their owners, there's this thing about directors casting people who look like them, or directors and stars gradually
Yeah.
merging into one. Like Ryan Gosling and Derek Cianfrance in Blue Valentine. I'm sure you can come up with examples.
Hmm.
But Barry Sonnenfeld's last film was Nine Lives, the Kevin Spacey cat Trump film. And the picture of Barry Sonnenfeld on Wikipedia for this Razzie, this year's Razzies, he looks very much like Kevin Spacey.
Okay.
Not physically, just in the way he's dressed, he looks like Kevin Spacey's character in Nine Lives.
Okay. I'll have to find that, but I still doesn't mean he deserves a Razzie in 1999 though.
No,
Yeah.
no. Then worst screenplay, win for Wild Wild West, story by Jim Thomas and John Thomas, screenplay by S.S. Wilson, Brent Maddock, Jeffrey Price, and Peter S. Seaman, based on the TV series by Michael Garrison.
No, I mean, it's not the strongest. It's pretty wafer thin. Jon Peters is very lucky he didn't get credited here. He could have been eligible for the podcast. But no,
I mean, technically he produced the film, so I think if we can get him, I'm not gonna...
I just want to see. I need his name read out. That's all I need. Yeah, no, there's going to be worse this year. This is it's the Men in Black screenplay, like you said, with minimal changes, merged with some bits probably from the original show and Jon Peters' ideas. You've got 6 people or something on it. It is what it is.
And then one final win, which goes to Worst Original Song for Wild Wild West from Wild Wild West. Music and lyrics by Stevie Wonder, Kool Moe Dee, and Will Smith.
Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely fucking not. Outrageous. Yeah. So it doesn't play obviously until the credits. Yeah. And I was fucking, yes. I was like, there's Stevie. Yes, I remember this. This is great. And then 3 hours later, when I was making dinner, I decided to get Alexa to play it. I had a wee Will Smith sort of run. Just I was in such a good high, and it's the album version where he's speaking to baby Jaden Smith.
Yeah, I read about that.
And he's like, Jaden's like, he's like, what song should I play next? And he's like, wah wah wah, and he's like, oh, do you not this? What, you want me to play Wild Wild West? And it made me laugh so fucking hard, just because it's. I assume it is actually Jaden
the peak
as well.
Of Jaden's career.
Like 999. It's a great song though. I know it's sampled from Stevie and all these other things, and it's Will Smith talk rapping, but it's still catchy as fuck. I think it's his last #1, but I could be wrong.
Man.
So yeah, no, fuck right off. You're lucky to have such a good song on a film, to be honest.
Yeah. For my sins, I often occasionally get it confused with Cowboy by Kid Rock.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Like that mashup just takes place in my head, and before you know it, I'm like, because I want to be a cowboy, baby.
Well, that's how we improve worst original song. There you go. Wonder, Will Smith, Rock together.
Okay, so that concludes all we have to say about Wild Wild West. Join us in the second half when we'll be covering all the other winners and nominees for one of our favourite years, I think. It's a big one. The 90s, our safe space.
It is.
Closing out the 90s in style. Welcome back to the second half of Watching Worst Films, when we'll be discovering all of the other winners and losers from 1999. So... it's all been building up to this. Worst picture, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I'm just going to drop in Jewel of the Fates.
I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I don't look at the years in the lists anymore. I haven't since the early days of this podcast. It didn't click until you were reading the noms out that it was 99 for Wild Wild West. I totally mind blanked, and I forgot we were approaching some gold and stuff. So yeah, what the fuck? Phantom Menace, very quick for me. I love it.
Yeah.
When I'm talking about going to the cinema with my dad, I think I took him 3 times, or made him take me 3 times. He exaggerates. He thinks I took him like 9 to a dozen times. Like, in my head it was once or twice, but I made him go back to see Phantom Menace. I love this film. It's warts and all. It's, it hasn't aged the best.
Latos and all.
Latos and all. It's fucking great. It's just everything I want prequel to be. It feels like Star Wars, but it is not Star Wars and doesn't look like it. How do you take? You take the essence. but it's so new. Yeah, fucking love it. People
It's
are
like
wrong.
poetry in
Yeah, it
rhymes.
does. And you know what? Like, only I prove, like, yeah, I'm not the same on Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith as you are, but
Yeah, you're not as pretty cool pill
no,
as
no,
I
no,
am.
no. But Phantom, I am
Yeah,
pill me up. I think it's great, and it's only got better as more Star Wars related media comes out. It just
yeah.
makes it even better. So yeah, big no. I am a little bit gutted it didn't win though, so I could have watched it again.
Oh
That's the
man,
only
yeah.
thing.
Special, 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 special.
Specials.
No one wants another podcast with just men in their 30s waxing lyrical about Star Wars. That is not what the internet needs.
No.
So maybe you and I will just watch Star
Yes,
Wars,
yes.
and I won't turn on the microphone, and we'll speak about it for 4 hours. Yeah, no, I'm the same as you. I saw it a bunch of times. Like my brother was one at this point in time, so handy excuse from my dad to take me on release day, and then for my mother to take me a couple days later.
Mhm.
So that was in Inverness. I saw it for the first time.
Nice.
I was obsessed with this movie. And then like my grandparents took me, like my aunt took me. I think like whenever a relative was visiting, I was like, oh great, they can take me to see Star Wars.
Mhm.
Like they haven't seen Star Wars yet. So I saw this a bunch of times, and yeah, continue to love it to this day. Won't say any more about that though. Next up, we have The Haunting. Have you
The
seen The
Haunted.
Haunting?
Who
Yeah.
is in who's in it? I have. I think I have.
Liam Neeson,
And
Catherine
Catherine
Zeta-Jones,
Jones.
Owen
Uh,
Wilson. It was the
it
Haunted
is.
Mansion
It
of
is
the
the.
90s.
Yes, it is. I have seen this. I am
Yeah.
again at 99. So in 2000, my mum and dad rented this. It was one of those films you watched when you stayed up late and watched it when you were meant to be in
Yeah.
bed with them. And yeah, like I don't remember. I remember it being really funny, even as like a 10-year-old. I think Owen
Yeah.
Wilson has a particularly like comical death that's been memed.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I am gonna mix it up with the original Haunting and House on
Yeah.
Haunted Hill and all the other
Yeah.
fucking versions that come out. It's worse than Wild Wild West. And it's worse than
Yeah.
Phantom Menace. So it's the worst so far on the list.
Well, next up, I bet it's going to be worse than this film, The Blair Witch Project.
I love the Blair Witch Project. Outrageous that it is here. The more outrageous than Star Wars and fucking Wild
Yeah.
Wild West. And genuinely, such a unique film. I would have been 10 again when I watched this with my sister, who bullshitted me that it was real and
Yeah.
yeah, played into it. I mean, she was a teenager and wound me up, and it fucked me up
Yeah.
thinking that it was real and just how original it is. I watched it back a couple of years ago when they did the new one, and although it's very much diminishing returns, you're not going to get the same effect. It's an experience, if anything.
Yeah.
Still really good though, and there are moments of tension. It's not boring like everyone thinks it is. It's still good.
No.
Yeah, it's a very unique film. It should not be here. Should not be here.
It's one of those ones. I only watched it for the first time a couple years ago, and I feel like I kind of missed the moment where it's one of those things where I can appreciate for the influence, but I've kind of seen like other things do it, so I can only imagine the impact it would have had for people seeing it
It
at the
is.
time.
I mean,
And
it's because of time. It's because you know it as well.
yeah,
That's the
yeah, exactly.
problem.
It's one of those like it's a victim of its own success in that it kind of defined everything that came after it.
Yes.
And so obviously it's going to seem a little bit like not derivative because everything was derived from it in a way.
Hmm.
Like I just can't comprehend people like I thought it was fine. Like it wasn't hugely my bag, but like I can't comprehend people thinking it's bad when I'm like
Yes.
this so clearly is like amazing on
It's
so many
100%.
levels. Like you can't like you're an idiot if you think this is like a poorly made film.
100%.
Like you might disagree with what it's doing, but it's doing what it's set out to do perfectly.
Yeah.
And next up, I would say all of those things apply to this film also. Big Daddy.
Fucking big. What the fuck? This is the best group bunch of films here, I think, in Razzie
Yeah,
history.
movie night. We're gonna watch
What a marathon!
1999.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big Daddy's fantastic. Big Daddy
yeah,
doesn't need to be needlessly discussed to death. It is the best introduction to Sandler. It is the best
yeah,
Sandler film if you are not a Sandler fan. If you are
yeah,
a casual normie that just wants a sentimental com- sitcom style comedy from the 90s with a couple of cameos that will make you pop. It is the
Yeah.
safest Happy Madison film, but it is charming, it is endearing, it is funny, and yeah, it's not my favorite, but I've seen it so many times and it is so good. Very
Yeah.
surprised it's here. Very surprised.
Yeah, it's difficult to think what like how Sandman would have entered his radar at this point, because obviously it's one of those ones that like he's just annoyed at Sandman for some reason,
Yeah.
because yeah, the film on its own, I agree, not my personal favorite. I like him to be a little more wacky and stylized, but still he's good.
Hmm.
So moving on to worst actor, we have Robin Williams in Bicentennial Man and Jacob the Liar as Andrew Martin and Jacob. Have you seen Bicentennial
I
Man?
have. Again, it's another cinema visit with the family.
Nice.
I liked it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And my again, compared to Wild Wild West, my memory is a little bit foggier. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. So I'm gonna say yeah, it passed. I've never heard of Jacob the Liar, Jacob the Liar. What did you say?
Yeah, Jacob the Liar. So I watched that for this. It's essentially Life is Beautiful. Like, it's a Holocaust movie where Robin Williams plays a Jew who tells all his fellow Jews that he has a radio, and he gives hope to the people in the ghetto, being like, "Oh yes, the Russians are coming, and I've just heard this on the news, and Churchill was just giving a big speech about how they're gonna," and it's a little
Hmm.
twee and a little bit like exploitative, which aren't what you want from a Holocaust movie. It's a bad film, but his performance, like,
Oh yeah, that
he's
yeah.
actually like, he's like, the accent isn't great, but I actually think like he's really good in some scenes.
Okay.
Like when the Nazis find out and they're like, "You will tell the peoples that you do not have a radio and that God is a false prophet and you are a superstition." And like there's just so many close-ups of like, there's a lot of great close-ups of Robin Williams just like completely like devastated. Like, I think it's a good
Okay. No,
performance.
fair. Fair.
So my only thinking here is this is Mr. Razzie again. Like, I don't know, Gerard Butler in 300 kicking a comedian down the pit
Yeah.
for daring to
Hmm.
move out of their lane, because you can totally see why he would have such success with dramatic roles in other projects off the basis of this. Next up, we have Arnold Schwarzenegger in End of
Ooh.
Days as Jericho Kane.
So your favorite
There we
role.
go.
That's it. It's
Yeah,
done.
1999, big year for me. I get an Arnie character named after me. What more could I ask for? Have you seen
I
End of
have.
Days?
I'm gonna hand it over to you. I have seen End of Days probably like 15 years ago. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it for what it
Mm-hmm.
was. I
Yeah.
love, yeah, fuck who, Gabriel Byrne is the devil.
Yeah.
He is,
Well, more on him later.
he's fucking, oh no, I was just I fucking love him. I think he's my quintessential devil.
Yeah.
So no, but Arnie himself, I can't remember too much on, so I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Arnold Schwarzenegger fights the devil. What more do you want? Like, you know what you're getting when you sign up for an Arnie film at this time period.
Yeah.
He's not like deviating from the formula. He's not doing anything wild. He's just like a grizzled detective who's like, it's Terminator with the devil.
It's his
Like,
last film before The Governor, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Before you should, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think it's maybe Around the World in 80 Days or something. Like, there's little caveats,
Yeah.
but I think this was the
Something kind of
last
that,
kind
yeah.
of
Leading role.
prime. Oh no, hang on, wait. Terminator 3 would have been.
Did he not postpone it or something, or come out of retirement for three?
Well, we're just gonna have to look up his filmography now.
So I thought you were an
End of
expert.
Days. End of Days was significant for some reason. There's all these films that I have kind of in my head. Okay, yeah, no, hang on, he did a ton. Sixth Day was 2000, Collateral Damage 2002, Rise of the Machines 2003, and then when was he governor? I would guess he maybe was. Yeah, so he announced his candidacy for the 2003 recall election. So yeah, no, he was still
Okay.
nothing. This had nothing to do with
Nothing
his
to do.
political
Okay,
career.
never mind.
Yeah. So yeah, no, he's great. He's fantastic. He's just doing like the standard Arnold Schwarzenegger badass performance. So yeah, this is Mr. Razzie just playing the favorites, I guess. Kevin Kline, Wild Wild West. Kevin Costner in For Love of the Game and Message in a Bottle as Billy Chapel and Garrett Blake.
Well,
Seen either of
I have
those?
not. I have seen very little Costner as discussed on the Postman.
Yeah.
Yep, no comment.
So, For Love of the Game is Sam Raimi. That's his baseball movie. And it's not one of Sam Raimi's best, but Costner is completely fine. Message in a Bottle is a romantic drama, and it's a Nick Sparks adaptation. I had no idea Nick Sparks was a going concern in the 90s.
No,
Like, I
I thought it
thought
was later.
The
Yeah,
Notebook
yeah,
was the first one.
yeah.
But yeah, nothing to say. Kevin Costner's boring at best. He's just like, he's fine in For the Love of the Game. Not my favourite screen presence, but I wouldn't say he's bad, so maybe he's being carried by Message in a Bottle.
Hmm.
Then the winner for Worst Actor goes to one Adam Sandler in Big Daddy as Sonny Koufax.
It's not, I mean, it isn't his best. Still, no,
No.
does not deserve a nomination. Does not deserve a win. He is playing more of a straight man than what he had been doing at this point.
Yeah.
It is creeping into the hanging out with friends kind of category, but he's still funny. He is still the Sandman. Is your Schwarzenegger? Just take that
Yeah.
comments and change the words for Sandman. Done. Move on.
Perfect. Worst actress, Catherine Zeta-Jones in Entrapment and The Haunting as Virginia Baker and Theo.
Oh, I hate Entrapment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my boy. My post rock Connery. Yeah, Entrapment sucks. I don't enjoy it. What was the other one?
The Haunting.
Oh, The Haunting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, she deserved it this year. I'm not the biggest Zeta Jones fan in general,
Yeah.
so yeah, fair.
Then we have Sharon Stone in Gloria as Gloria.
Not seen Gloria. Have you seen Gloria?
So I started watching Gloria. I didn't finish it, but I was like, I think I just kind of picked it at random here, and then I was watching the credits, and I was like, Sidney Lumet came up, and I was like, oh, this is a Sidney Lumet movie, and then I remembered it's the remake of the John Cassavetes Gloria, and so I'm like,
Ah, okay.
this is Mr. Razzie just struggling to name women because I'm like, Sidney Lumet will not have made a Razzie worthy movie, ignoring perhaps looking over movies he may have made towards the end of his career, which may be Razzie worthy.
Mhm.
But it's like, it might be bad compared to the original. I haven't seen that. But Sharon Stone's clearly just someone he has a vendetta against because in what I've seen of the movie so far, she's fine. It's fine. Shouldn't be here.
Mhm.
Then next up, we have an old favourite, Mila Jovovich in The Messenger, the story of Joan of Arc as Joan of Arc. Have you seen that?
So I haven't seen it, but I know about it a little bit because it's Besson's film after Element, Fifth
Yeah.
Element, which obviously made a big star out of Mila. You know my feelings on Mila. I'm not a big fan. Yeah, I will never watch this film.
Yeah.
Just that's it. Like I know about it, and I know it was a flop as well. Probably more of a Razzie worthy film than Wild Wild West, no doubt about it. But I'm never gonna watch it.
Fair enough. Say no more. Melanie Griffith in Crazy in Alabama as Lucille Vinson.
Never seen it. Have you seen it?
I haven't. I kind of wanted to watch it because it was the directorial debut of one Antonio Banderas.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'd like to see what he whipped up.
Hmm.
Comedy drama film. Obviously, I know Melanie Griffith from the Jonathan Demme film Something Wild, so I'd be hoping for something in that vein. But yeah, I'd be real curious to see it. Alas, I prioritized watching half an hour of Gloria for some reason. Um, so next up, we have the winner, Heather Donahue in the Blair Witch Project as Heather.
Oh no, fuck right off. Absolutely not. Oh fuck, it's just clicked as well. So this is obviously Phantom Menace. This is Jake
Uh-huh.
Lloyd. He's
Yeah,
coming up.
yeah, yep,
Fuck's
yep,
sake.
yep, yep.
And he's a way to get ruined. I remember seeing some. I think it was for the new Blair Witch.
Yeah.
It was like after or something. It was an interview. I can't remember. It might have been an article, and she was just talking about how like her life sucks,
Yeah.
and she used the money from, I believe, the reboot. It could have been Blair Witch
Yeah.
2. I could be mixing them up. Book of Shadows. But anyway, and she just was taking drugs and depression, quit acting, I think.
Yeah.
I think she's in something that I've seen. I'd have to look it up. But no, fucking poor girl. She's fantastic as
Yeah.
well. There is some shoddy performances, like some of the amateurish from other people in the
Mhm.
film. But she does carry it. Fucking hell, she really does.
I think it just
This is
I think like it works.
a strong
Yeah,
no.
yeah. Like
Yeah, well,
the
like
fact that people
it's
could
fucking
believe it's real gives you all you need to know, really.
and the fact she didn't go on to do anything major, it does suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, heartbreaking.
Next up, worst supporting actor, Rob Schneider in Big Daddy as Natso. Do you remember
Uh,
him
I,
in? He's like the neighbor or something, isn't he?
he's 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 the delivery man,
Okay, yeah,
and I hate to say this, but Rob Schneider, it's probably Rob Schneider's best
yeah,
performance. It's the first time I'm going to say he shouldn't deserve to be
yeah,
here. He has the most quotable, memorable joke in the whole
yeah,
film with Heap Hop Anonymous. Screw you, you gave him the easy one. He's fucking great in it because he is the wacky, because Sandler's
yeah,
more subdued, like I said. It's great. This is fine to have Schneider. It's when Schneider is doing it and Sandler's popping him in every aspect, like
yeah.
Waterboy.
When
You
they get
fuck
that,
right
yeah,
off. You're get out his arsehole in his shadow. But no, here, fantastic, perfect. Rob Schneider's best
yeah.
work. Doesn't deserve to be here.
Then we have Jake Lloyd in Star Wars Episode One: The Phantom Menace as Anakin Skywalker.
Jesus, yeah, well, it was always coming, wasn't it? Yeah, no, I mean, he's a
Yeah,
kid. I don't think any kid would be able to deliver George Lucas's lines with Shakespearean
we've seen
conviction.
grown actors
Um,
struggle, so yeah, a kid in
yeah,
their
he will bring great actors down to their fucking
yeah,
knees by making them deliver lines. What chance does a 8-year-old boy have? Jake Lloyd is fine. He can work. He can work with Schwarzenegger.
yeah.
Why
Well, his
can't?
dad's
Why
nominated
can't?
this year, so hopefully Arnie picked up the phone and
Yeah,
gave him a call. It gets better, son.
yeah, like absolutely sucks to have him here. I'm glad he didn't win. I'm no doubt he's going to be win worst new star, but I'm glad he didn't win. So like at least there's some not completely dunking on a small child.
Yeah, yeah. Like he is bad. Like he's
Yeah,
not
yeah, he
good.
is. He
And
isn't
like you
good.
watch the screen tests where like you see the other Anakins that audition, and there's one that's like really good in terms of just like he's just like really dark. Where you're like, oh, this kid has like it's just like sometimes when you see a
Yeah,
kid.
but like, I can't believe I'm going to defend Jake Lloyd here,
For
but
me of all people.
I, I, I fucking related so heavy to that kid when I was
Yeah.
9 because he was
Because
a
you
bit
too were
dorky and
hated
awkward
by
with
the
his
world
bowl
for
cut.
your.
I was, but I had my little bowl
Yeah, yeah.
cut, and I wasn't, I
Well,
was
I was
crushing on the
joining in the
older
hate because I
lady.
was like, it should have been me.
Yeah,
It should have been me.
and in as a
I am a
kid, like
person
as a
and my
Star
name
Wars,
is Anakin.
as a fanatic as a kid, I couldn't wait to see how this innocent doe-eyed
Yeah,
child was going to become this monster.
yeah,
I like the famous poster with Jake Lloyd in the
yeah.
shadow of Darth
One
Vader
of the
behind
all-time
him. It's
greats. Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
great, and I'm not gonna dunk on 2 and 3 and break your heart, but I wanted to see that child grow up and be corrupted and broken. I want to see the transformation, and it works for Phantom Menace so well that he is a chirpy little annoying piece of
yeah.
shit. And yeah, it isn't a great performance. Yeah, there would have been better actors, but I think Lucas knew what you. I think he knew what he was
I think
doing,
half the issue
and
is Lucas, to be quite honest with you, because in the screen test, I
yeah,
think he's a little bit better. I can't quite remember. I remember watching these screen
I don't.
tests where there's three, I think. There's one that's
Yeah,
bad, there's one that's like really good, and like a kid that just sort of. A kid from like Come and See who's just got like horrors behind.
yeah.
Because the line is like, they're all screen testing with Natalie Portman, and she's like, but Annie, you're just a kid. And the line Annie has is, I won't always be. And most of them throw it away as some kind of light thing,
Yeah.
whereas this kid is just so ominous when he's like, I won't always be. And you're like, oh, like that kid plays more of the ending of you could see this kid becoming
Mm.
Darth Vader, whereas Jake Lloyd you can't see it at all, which I think works. That's a valid way to
I
take it.
like that. Yeah, that's the way I
I
do look
think
at
it's
it.
just like
And
he's more natural before Lucas gets his claws into him and is
but
like a little bit more.
this is this is a good point, and this is when I'm not going to defend Lucas when he comes up later on, because Natalie Portman's lucky she wasn't nominated as worst actress, and unless she's supporting
Mm,
actress, fuck. But yeah, like she's a good actress. I'm a big Portman fan, but George Lucas brings her, like I said, to their fucking
yeah,
knees. She absolutely chops them down. He's not a good director. He's not expression. Like you look at Lucas, he can't emote. So how can you expect people to emote? Yeah, I'm gonna defend Jake Lloyd here. Don't want him here.
yeah, I agree. Then we have Gabriel Byrne in End of Days and Stigmata as Satan and Father Andrew Kiernan.
This is just because they're two religious themed movies. Fucking tip the fedora, Mr. Razi is getting one
Enlightened
over.
by his atheism. Euphoric with the
Exactly.
nomination of Gabriel Byrne. Yeah.
It's fucking like, well, it's fucking yeah, like I strongly disagree. I love him in End of Days. It's the thing I remember most about the movie, and I haven't seen Stigmata, but this is a strong, strong no for me.
I haven't seen Stigmata also, and he's great as the devil. He's like all that you would want in a devil performance. So equaled. Yeah, echo your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I also just I do like him as an
Yeah.
actor, so I just don't like him
Yeah.
here.
Then we have Kenneth Branagh in Wild Wild West, Dr. Earl's Love List, and the winner, Ahmed Best in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, as Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, speaking about ruining people's lives,
Yeah.
fucking 3 out of 3 for this year. God, different horrible times. Yeah, Ahmed Best is great as Jar Jar
Yeah.
Binks. The physical motions and stuff. Like obviously it looks like a shit post when you see him on set, and it's weird with a Jar Jar decapitated head above him.
If we get him
But
working, he's a funnier character than we've ever had. So
nothing about Jar Jar Binks or the Phantom Menace or anything is Ahmed Best's at all.
precisely, he
Like
nails it. He
you,
does
you,
like
you can
exactly what.
fucking yeah, Anthony Daniels isn't fucking doing that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Mr.
there's
Razzie nominating Kenny Baker for
Kenny Baker, R2D2, terrible fucking acting. Just
ruined
like
the
Kenny
entire
Baker
film
couldn't.
knowing he was in there.
And oh my god, I'm lucky. King of the Gungans isn't here as well.
Oh, what's his face? Flash Gordon,
Uh,
Brian Blessed.
Blessed.
Yeah.
Yes, my beloved Brian Blessed. If he was, oh my god, if the Phantom Menace could have swept this year, and I would have been spitting blood.
Oh,
so
God.
I'm very happy. So yeah, pretty much actually none of these a clean sweep. I don't think any of these should be nominated.
Yeah, I've kind of put a cork in it just because once that box is opened, it's hard to close. But like, I completely echo your thoughts on like, don't be nominating any children. And certainly by this point in time, Jake Lloyd had felt the rage of so many men children online that for Mr. Razzie to be sticking the boot in 6 months after the film's release is just really reckless and irresponsible when it's not his fault. He didn't write the movie. He wasn't deciding on the direction of Anakin's character.
Exactly.
Like, if you think he was bad, it was probably because George Lucas used him poorly. And similarly with Ahmed Best, not that I'm saying he has the lack of agency of a child, but like he like if you hate Jar Jar as a character, then take that up with Lucas because it wasn't like
That's my point. That's my point.
it wasn't going to be like Don Vito Corleone, and then Ahmed Best was like, what if I play him with like a racial patois voice?
Exactly.
Yeah. So moving on to Worst Supporting Actress, Juliette Lewis in The Other Side as Carla Tate. The other sister.
Never seen it. Oh, other sister, other side of the sister. I am a Juliet fan. Natural Born Killers, obviously a close place in my heart.
Cape Fear for me,
I haven't
baby.
seen Kate Fear. And she's great. She's just great, but I've never seen this, so no
It's a
comment.
Gary Marshall production, or Gary Marshall feature. Then we have Kevin Kline as a prostitute in Wild Wild West. Ha ha ha, very funny, Mr. Razzie. Then we have, Salma Hayek in Dogma and Wild Wild West as Serendipity and Rita Escobar.
I'm fucking fucked. So when we're talking about Byrne in the religious Duncan, Dogma was on the tip of my tongue, and I didn't say it. For some reason, I was like, "Is that 2001's Jay and Silent Bob?" I'm trying to add it up quickly. I can't do the Kevin Smith math in my head quick enough, so I just left it out. But I was like, you could have slam dunked and went all three. I love Dogma. Dogma's the only Kevin Smith film non-Clerks related or Tusk that I really like.
Yeah.
I know you're not as keen on it.
But I agree. Like I think Dogma's the closest to something. Like if you took Jay and Silent Bob, I can't quite remember what I thought. I was like, this could have been a great movie if it wasn't a Kevin Smith movie. Like I'm like, why the fuck are Jay and Silent Bob in this? Like all
You
the
take it out.
Alan Rickman, all the Angel Devil stuff, great, and then he just
Yeah,
has himself turn up.
yeah. If you had a, and either way, you tweak it and it turns into a Neil Gaiman
Exactly, that was my
thing,
thing. Was Good Omens, yeah.
and or any Neil Gaiman. Take your
Yeah.
pick. No offense, Neil. But
He's too busy watching
yeah, like
Sandman. He's not going to listen to this.
yeah, I like Dogma. Selma's not great in it either, though. So it's one of those I can understand it. Does mean Mr. Razi hasn't watched Dogma though, because he could have been
Jason Mewes,
smacking
worst supporting
punches.
actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, next up we have Sofia Coppola in Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace as Sashay. I am fairly confident she does not have a line.
Who? It was like, who the fuck's Sasha? Is that one of
That's one of Padme's
Padme's?
handmaids.
And yeah, so she's never got she never only has a line, surely, and she won't even have a shot in the entire film of her alone.
Yeah.
She'll be behind,
Mr. Razzie just sees
So
the side of her head covered by a scarf and is just irate.
this is Daniel Craig getting nominated in Force Awakens or something.
Yeah. Well, he at least spoke.
Yeah, absolutely. Insanity.
I cannot. I was trying to work this out where it's like, obviously it's Mr. Razzie struggling to name women, but I was like, why is Sofia Coppola even on his radar at this point in time? Because I think the rumor was that she was about to direct Virgin Suicides, and she just turned to Uncle George and was like, "Oh hey, can I have like a part on Star Wars just to kind of see how you work and like as a directing thing? Can I just kind of like hang out and see how it is?" So I was like, she wasn't like famous as a director at this point in time. So why is he?
No.
I was like, oh, it's Godfather Part 3. He's still chewing that bone. That must be
sure is.
Because like I don't know, like honestly, like what is gained from nominating Sofia Coppola for? Imagine Mr. Razzie just watching Star Wars and being like, "Whoa, if only that role had gone to a proper actor, this could have been something." And then I'm gonna cede the floor to you for our winner, Denise Richards in The World Is Not Enough as Christmas Jones.
It's been such a long time since Bond. Die Another Day, wasn't it? 2002.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love The World Is Not Enough. It's my second favorite Brosnan. Top 10 maybe, top 15
it's
at
my
least.
fourth favorite Brosnan.
It's my fourth favorite Brosnan. It's good fun. It's great fun. But all that aside, I cannot really defend Richards. What was it? It's what we were talking about. You told me the story about Starship Troopers, casting the vapid actors and not telling them it was, like Casper Van Dien and Denise thought it was dead serious and they didn't know they were like getting the piss ripped out of them. I feel like she's not an actress at times, especially in the 90s. She is awful. I want to defend. She's probably lovely and I feel really bad, and I love her in Starship Troopers, but again, I don't think she knows why. I don't think she realizes how funny she is. Yeah, this is a deserved nom. I'm just kind of sad it's for a Bond film.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones.
Yeah, it's not like Bond girls set a particularly high bar, but she is like very wooden and not great.
Especially coming off Brosnan, who has had great women. Like Natalia's actress, can't remember her name in GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like
Famke Janssen and GoldenEye.
Tomorrow Never Dies is, obviously it's getting reassessed now because of success of Michelle's career since Everywhere, Everything All at Once.
Yeah.
So yeah, you had strong, great performances by strong women, but Denise just sucks.
Yeah.
Like she's not even. And what's her name in?
Terry Hatcher, Rosamund Pike.
No.
Halle Berry.
Sophie.
Sophie Marceau, is that? Yeah.
Yes, that's the one. I'm sorry, I'm trying to Google The World Is Not Enough. It's fantastic as well. She's probably one of my favorite like Bond performances by a girl. So yeah, Denise sucks, but I love The World Is Not Enough.
And I've always wanted to celebrate Christmas in July, or to have Christmas in July, whatever the innuendo is.
Christmas comes early, Jesus Christ.
Then moving on to worst screen couple, Lily Taylor and Catherine Zeta-Jones in The Haunting.
I can't remember enough to
Fair
say.
enough.
So,
Jake
I
Lloyd and Natalie Portman in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
mean, 100%.
Yeah.
I can't argue this one. It's terrifying. It was weird as a
Yeah.
kid. Like the age gap's weird, so obviously there's no chemistry.
Yeah.
It's like you're talking to her long lost little brother or something. It's weird and awkward, and yeah,
It's
can't do
it's
that.
weird, but it's also like it's a weird thing of like it's obviously laying groundwork of their couple amounts to like a couple of scenes, I guess. There's like the "Are
Yeah,
you an
yeah.
angel?" and then there's the like her comforting him on the plane, and then I can only
Flying
really
home, yeah.
think um, of like him going to say goodbye when she's like when he's heading off the Jedi Temple, like
Yeah,
like
I mean, but it's not the whole point. But it
it's
is,
Twilight
you
thing of
know,
like she's 14 and he's 10, and it's a little
yeah.
bit awkward and weird. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, feel sorry for children.
I do, yeah. But like, it
But
does
yeah, they're
suck.
not
So
they're
it's
not great. Then we have from one James Bond to another, Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones in Entrapment.
absolutely 100%. This should have won. Oh wait, the other Bond might have won, but
No, you know
yeah,
what
this
one.
is
It was Kevin Smith and Kevin Kline and Will
oh,
Smith. Oops. No, Kevin Smith, that would not want to see that. The most
um,
cursed Wild West reboot imaginable. It's Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes.
um,
And
all comes together. Yeah, Sean Connery and Zeta Jones don't have any chemistry. Connery just looks so annoyed with
yeah.
her. Like
Oh,
you
yes,
can tell that
sometimes it is
just,
okay to give a woman
I,
a slap if she's
he
trying to
just he
entrap you.
just he does not like they. And
He
I guess
was
it's
he
part of the
was on
relationship
the
of the
brink of
film.
retirement, Kyle. Just he's
Yeah, and
counting
that's
down the
like talking about
years.
weird age, weird age gap as
Yeah.
well. Like I know that Conrad was always held up in, even when he was an old man of being the sexiest man or
Yeah.
whatever, but it's still rough. So this would be
When
my
you've
pick.
got like youthful hunk Michael Douglas waiting for you at home.
Yes.
Um, then from one Bond back to the same original Bond, Pierce Brosnan and Denise Richards. Denise Richards in The World Is Not Enough.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's your two winners right there.
Great, there we go. And so yeah, Kevin Kline and Will Smith as the actual winners. Moving on to worst director, George Lucas for Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace.
No,
Yeah,
but yeah, like it isn't well. As a visionary filmmaker, I don't want him anywhere near
yeah,
here. Even as a writer, I don't want him near here. But like, directing human beings, not so
yeah.
good. Some writing choices, obviously not so good. But again, as a visionary and like an ideas man, and for what he conjured up and got people to do, I don't know. I don't want him here.
Yeah, like he's not great at directing performances, but on an aesthetic level, like he, for better or for worse, he kind of informed filmmaking for the next 3 decades with what he was doing here. So it's a pretty impressive achievement, even if he couldn't manage the basics of read this line like a human being. But he's also trying to do a
Yes.
stylized thing. So anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like
Exactly.
big
Yeah.
swings, and I like old
Exactly. That's my.
George.
That's what I'm going for.
Yeah,
There's going to be misses,
yeah,
but that's what you went for something.
yeah. Next up, Peter Hyams for End of Days.
Okay, my only little I didn't know it was him. Peter Hyams, I love because he did 2010,
Yeah.
the year we make Combat, which is one of my favorite films.
Yeah,
Period. Like I love
yeah,
it. 2001's literally like top two,
yeah.
but 2010, love it so much. Great film, and he does fucking nout after it. It's all schlocky Seagal level
Yeah.
films. I can't remember some of them, but I didn't know he popped up later to work with Schwarzenegger. So yeah, a good director for me, or at least he is capable of being a good director.
Yeah. Then we have another good director, Dennis Dugan for Big Daddy.
Yeah, no, the boy knows how to direct Sandler
Yeah.
films, like, and he does them absolutely swiftly, efficiently. Everyone knows what to do. He gets
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
On time, under
I
budget.
don't
Yeah.
imagine I don't imagine he does much.
I
Like he
think he
just
might have back in
he's
the day.
back in the day, but
Now they
like,
have it down to a fine art. Now there's just that
yes,
telepathic connection, and he's propping up the
yeah,
bar while they're shooting in Hawaii or whatever. But like Big Daddy, I reckon he did his hard time. Then we have another favorite, Jan de Bont for The Haunting.
when's the Jan de Bont special?
Yeah.
Yeah, from the highest to highs to the lowest to lows. I didn't know he directed The Haunting though, but it makes sense. He is, yeah, it makes sense.
Based off Another Dream. And of course, the
Hmm.
winner, Barry Sonnenfeld for Wild Wild West. So, moving on to worst screenplay, Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace, written by George Lucas. I like the screenplay. There are a couple awkward lines. Well, a couple awkward lines. People are going to be beating my ass in the in the if we well, let's just
Yeah,
use
but
this clip for social media. I think that Star Wars The Phantom Menace has a couple awkward lines. But yeah, I don't know. People obviously love to beat down the prequels, or maybe not now. Now we've had the sequels,
no,
but
yeah,
yeah, I like the screenplay. Not not it for me.
yeah, I don't disagree. It's not great in
Yeah,
bits. There's just, you know, if I always everyone says you had someone to co-write it, you had a cast in to clean it
yeah,
up and do some human dialogue. It's amazing, just for ideas and creativity alone, and how different it is from the original three. I, I wouldn't have made it up if I was him. I wouldn't have been able to do it. So no, I don't want to be
we're just like the two guys from the Muppets, where like I don't know, it's become like very apparent just how cynical we are about modern filmmaking, and I think like you're not gonna get a George Lucas again. Like we're losing the Spielbergs, the Scorseses, the Lucases. Now, like I would happily watch 1,000 Phantom Menaces rather than one Dial of Destiny, because that's just so
Yeah.
written by committee of like we have analyzed what nerds want from Indiana Jones or like the Star Wars prequels. Force Awakens is the perfect
Yeah.
example of that's written designed to appeal to exactly what people know and want. Whereas Phantom
Hmm.
Menace was like, hey, I'm going to show you something new. And people didn't
Hmm.
like that, and now we will never get anything new ever again.
Well, it's happened. You just mentioned there were Dial of Destiny
Yeah.
spoilers for anyone, but the ending of that film felt like a Lucas. It felt like Lucas had come into the room for two
Yeah.
seconds and had an
Yeah.
idea, and I loved it so much because it was so different than the other four films and the fifth
Yeah.
film. Give me more weird shit. Give me machete in space. Give me anything. You know, like I do want that. So yeah, that's what we're saying. The regurgitation of ideas and just laziness, safeness. I think safeness is a better
Yeah.
term. Just unwilling to do anything to not, get those fanboys or that cult like mentality. It's grim. It is grim.
Yeah. And then we have The Mod Squad, written by Stephen T.K. and Scott Silver and Kate Lanier, based on the TV series.
I've never seen it. I take it neither as Mr. Razzie now this is popping up here.
Well, yeah, based on the TV series, so you'd think he might like have his heckles up for that one, but yeah, it's
Hmm.
Claire Danes. Yeah, you'd think it would have maybe featured more, but would like to have seen it just so I could see what's so bad about the screenplay, but
Yeah,
ah
yeah,
well.
yeah.
The Haunting, screenplay by David Self, based on a novel by Shirley Jackson.
Yeah, yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big Daddy, screenplay by Steve Franks and Tim Herlihy and Adam Sandler.
Yeah, it's a strong no for me. It doesn't feel so much like a Sandler. It does feel like, I guess, the other guy, Franks or whatever his
Well,
name
yeah,
was.
that's interesting, the parenthesis, because it's Steve Franks and Tim Herlihy and then ampersand Adam Sandler. So obviously the
Yeah,
ampersand being the writing partnership. So I wonder if
yeah.
Steve Franks wrote a screenplay and then they optioned it and Sandler and Herlihy were like, let's put our stamp on
Let's get Schneider in and do this and that. Yeah, like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. That makes so much sense. But you know what? For those, if and that will be true. There's no way that's not.
Yeah.
But that's a good little melding of worlds
Yeah.
as well. So fair play, fair play.
Yeah. And then the winner, Wild Wild West. So that leaves us with the final category, Worst Original Song, Wild Wild West from Wild Wild West. It's the only nomination. Like,
What? No, no, then fuck off. You can't. No, 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 no. I'm not having that. Like, you've got to have at least something. Some other film must have had a song. Like, nominate The World is not enough or something. Like, it's a great
yeah.
song, by the way. But like, But like, like there's a song, there must be a song out there. You can't just nominate one fucking film and have it win. That's just shit. And it's a good song. Like that's the worst
Yeah.
part. Uh,
So, not wanting to deprive you of your mileage, we do have the Stinker Bad Movie Awards this year. So I'm just going to run through some of
okay.
these for you. So their worst picture also went to Wild Wild West. However, their nominations: Baby Geniuses, Blair Witch Project, Inspector Gadget, and The Mod Squad. So
Okay.
Baby Geniuses, of course, being the Bob Clark feature. Baby
Hmm.
Genius is bad, but cannot hold a candle. Baby Geniuses is mostly notable as the laying the groundwork for Baby Geniuses 2, which is one of the worst films I've ever seen. Like, I watched them both with
Hmm.
my brother years ago when we were like, let's watch the bottom rated film on IMDb. And me being the idiot that I was like, well, we need to see Baby Geniuses 1 in order to understand Baby Geniuses 2. And I was watching it in disbelief, being like, this is the good one? This is rated like 4 point something. How on earth?
Okay, okay.
Okay, so dishonorable mentions: The Astronaut's Wife, The Bachelor, Big Daddy, Breakfast of Champions, Bringing Out the Dead, Chill Factor, Crazy in Alabama, Detroit Rock City, Dudley Do Right, 8mm, End of Days, Eyes Wide Shut, Free Enterprise, Gloria, The Haunting, House on Haunted Hill, Idle Hands, Instinct, Jacob the Liar, Jawbreaker, The King and I, Life, Lost and Found, The Love Letter, Love Stinks, The Messenger, The Story of Joan of Arc, Music of the Heart, My Favorite Martian, The Omega Code, Pokemon the First Movie, The Rage, Carrie 2, Simon Says, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Stigmata, The Story of Us, Superstar, Teaching Mrs. Tingle, 200 Cigarettes, Universal Soldier, The Return, Varsity Blues, Virus, and Wing Commander.
Fuck. I've seen a lot of these
Yeah.
films. So obviously big ones there, Fire and 3, I was trying to catch, Eyes Wide Shut. Bringing Out the Dead as well pissed me off. I love that
Yeah.
film.
8mm I
There's,
like as well. The
yeah,
Joaquin Phoenix
um,
and Nicolas
that's a
Cage film.
very, that's a very diverse list. I would disagree. Again, the stinkers are so fucking weird. What's the one you said? Oh no, you said there was after the haunting. Was there another
House on
House on
Haunted
Haunted
Hill,
Hill?
yeah, yeah.
There's there two this year, so they're considered the same thing,
Are
right?
they? The
Well, like it's the
Haunting of
same
Hill. Are you
story.
thinking of the Haunting of?
Is it the same like story, like based on the same thing?
I don't think so. It's not.
Are they both based off Shirley Jackson?
No, it's based on The House on Haunted Hill by Rob White.
Okay, I don't know what that
Yeah.
is. Okay, fair. Okay, that's very confusing. Who's in this other one?
Jeffrey Rush
Okay,
and
okay.
Famke Janssen again, Tay Diggs. So I do have some other nominations to run through for you for the stinkers. Worst Supporting
Okay.
Actress nomination here: Helena Bonham Carter for Fight Club.
Oh, it's a controversial one.
Absolutely
Yeah.
idiotic. Like, how on earth? Like, she's so good in that film.
It's probably my favorite performance from her,
Probably,
but
yeah.
yeah.
Worst on-screen couple went to Siegfried and Roy in Siegfried and Roy: The Magic Box.
Don't know what that is, but that sounds good.
Worst song or song performance featured in a film or its end credits went to No Tears for Caesar by William Shatner and the Rated R from Free Enterprise.
There you go, Razzie.
Yeah, they also gave a nomination to Word Up by Mel B from Austin Powers: The Spy Who Shagged Me.
There you go.
What else do we have here? Worst fake accent, the entire cast of Jacob the Liar. Yeah, fair enough if you're going to recognize it. Worst on screen hairstyle, we had Burt Reynolds for Mystery Alaska, Brad Pitt in Fight Club, John Cusack in Being John Malkovich, Tom Cruise in Magnolia. I would say
Ooh,
Cusack, Cruise, and Pitt are all great hairstyles because they tell you so much about the character.
they do
Yeah,
instantly, instantly. Yeah, no, that's a weird fucking category. You're getting into Razzie territory there, Mr. Stinker.
yeah,
Um,
for sure. Helena Bonham Carter was nominated for Worst On Screen Hairstyle Female. And then Muppets from Space nominated for Worst Sequel or Prequel.
nah, it's disappointing, but it's still great. It's the last great Muppets film.
Biggest disappointment: films that didn't live up to their hype. Eyes Wide Shut was only just pipped by The Blair Witch Project and also Star Wars Episode 1. Most botched comic relief: ideas that couldn't have looked good even on paper went to The Annoying Sidekick, Jar Jar Binks. However, David Spade impersonates Neil Diamond in Lost and Found was a nomination there. And then most intrusive musical score, Eyes Wide Shut won that. Also nominated Fight Club and my beloved Magnolia, which has like
Wow.
the great John Bryan score, but I don't know, it's not really intrusive. So I'm like, they're not thinking of
No.
the moment where they all sing Wise Up. They're not like, tell me they're not. But like, I'm just absolutely livid at these two stinker nominations for my beloved PTA and Magnolia, like one of his many masterpieces. Just
Yeah.
absolute crime.
And if the Razzies did it though, he might have been eligible to come on. But until then,
Honestly,
buddy.
Paul Thomas Anderson's in my DMs every day of the week, being like, Jericho, can I come on the podcast? Paul, I'm sorry. Kyle says no. Not
Rules are rules, Paul.
the infamous photo of him on his phone at the Taylor Swift concert. He was like, guys, please. Yeah. So we're going to bring things back onto a topic I am more comfortable with their category, musicians who shouldn't be acting.
Oh,
Mariah Carey in The Bachelor won that, but Alanis Morissette and Dogma was third place, and
okay.
the runner up was Slash in the Underground Comedy Movie. So I watched this because I saw something about it and I was like, if this is what I think it is, this should have swept this year. So I know we
Okay.
spoke a couple weeks back on the Movie 43 episode about
hmm
inappropriate comedy, which is basically Movie 43 but worse. Little did I know,
hmm
inappropriate comedy is a remake of a movie the same guy Vince Offer made in 1999. So it cannibalizes, like they just do the same sketches. It has the exact same opening of like a guy in a tunnel looking upskirt at Marilyn Monroe, only it's not Lindsay Lohan. They do the sketch I hate more than any other sketch. Dirty Harry, go ahead, make me
Yeah, yeah,
gay.
yeah.
They do that. They do that word for word. And so I'm like, I cannot imagine. Like, I don't know, me and you have had some terrible ideas, but I cannot imagine
Yeah, sure enough.
revisiting any of our ideas like 15
What the?
years later and being like, maybe the problem was that Adrian Brody wasn't saying that line.
Yeah.
Like they just straight up do some of the same sketches. And so it's fascinating because I'm like, okay, this Mr. Razzie didn't nominate it, so I'm assuming he hasn't seen it. But if he truly did
Mm.
watch inappropriate comedy, not only should that have been worst film winner, that should also be nominated for worst remake, given that it's a remake which it's a remake of another film, and it somehow manages to be even worse than like a bad film. It's like he's remaking a film which was terrible, and he somehow makes it even worse. Anyway, that's my spiel on
Wow.
the Underground
Okay.
Comedy Movie.
Oh wow. I think I have to see these. I think you've hyped them up too much now.
Well, yeah, we do need to come up with a topic for our next special. So,
Yes.
if you have enjoyed this episode, then you can leave us a review on your podcast provider of choice. You can follow
You
us
sure
on
can.
social media where we are Watching Worst. And you can email us at watchingworstfilms@gmail.com, where you can give us all of your suggestions for the villain casting of Wilder West. And you can also please let us know if you have seen Underground Comedy Movie or Inappropriate Comedy.
Mhm.
And next week on Watching Worst Films, it's Hulkamania, as you can join us for our special tackling one Mr. Hulk Hogan and his film Santa with Muscles.